Levels of prevention. What is prevention? Basically, taking measures to stop the initiation or to halt the further progression of a disease can be called as prevention. So, to prevent is to promote health. It can be to preserve health. It can be to restore the health when it is already impaired, or it can also be simply preventing the suffering and distress due to that particular disease. The success of prevention depends on multiple factors. How good we know about the disease and its causation, which we know by epidemiology. Our knowledge about how the disease gets transmitted. Our ability to identify the risk factors and risk groups. Availability for early detection and treatment. And a system for continuous evaluation. The better we are at all these things, more successful we will be in prevention of diseases. Natural history of a disease can be divided into these phases: pre-pathogenesis phase, then early pathogenesis phase, which consists of pre-symptomatic illness, subclinical disease, discernible early symptoms. Then we have the late pathogenesis phase, which we call it as disease or disorder. So clear signs and symptoms are there. And because of that disease, for example dental trauma, one may suffer a loss of tissue. So that is called as impairment. For example, loss of incisor. So dental trauma is the cause, loss of incisor is the impairment. Because of this loss of incisor, one cannot speak. So that becomes disability. So first we have the disease, dental trauma, then we have the impairment, loss of a body part like incisor, then we have the disability. Because of that loss of body part, somebody is not able to speak. So that is disability. And the last one, handicap. Because somebody has that disability, he is not able to perform a social function which he would have otherwise performed. For example, he is unable to develop friends because he has difficulty in speaking. So this particular thing is called as handicap. So a disease has impact at multiple levels. It may just be a disease which comes and goes without causing an impairment, disability and handicap, or in severe forms it can cause an impairment that may lead to disability, which may lead to loss of social function, which is called as handicap. So the idea is to prevent the disease as early as possible, if possible before pre-pathogenesis stage, or at least at the early pathogenesis stage, or at least at the early stages of late pathogenesis stage. Pre-pathogenesis phase is a period preliminary to onset of disease. Favorable factors already exist in the environment and host is already exposed to the risk of disease. For example, high sucrose diet or high S mutans levels in the saliva. So that can predispose the child to have caries. Pathogenesis phase begins with entry of disease agent in human host in all the infectious diseases. In a non-infectious disease, it might be the presence of a risk factor that has already started acting. The final outcome of that disease may be recovery, disability or death based on how the person reacts to it. So these three concepts, we will link it together now: natural history of the disease, levels of prevention and modes of intervention. Natural history, we already saw the three things: pre-pathogenesis, early pathogenesis, late pathogenesis phases. We link them to levels of prevention. What we can do in the level of prevention, we can do in the pre-pathogenesis stage, we call it as primary level of prevention. The measures that we would take in the early pathogenesis stage is called as secondary level of prevention. The measures that we would take in the late pathogenesis stage is called as tertiary level of prevention. So each of these prevention has two modes of intervention, one or two modes of intervention. For example, primary level of prevention has two modes of intervention: health promotion, specific protection. Secondary level of prevention has early diagnosis, prompt treatment. as the levels of modes of intervention. And tertiary level of prevention has two modes of intervention, disability limitation and rehabilitation. So what are the levels of prevention? There are 3 levels of prevention. One has been added, as you can see, 4 levels of prevention: primordial level, primary level, secondary level and tertiary level. What is a primordial level of prevention? It is a prevention in the purest form. It involves prevention of risk factors in populations in which the disease has not yet occurred. In this case, the population doesn't even have the disease and doesn't even have the risk factor. So what we are doing is to prevent the risk factor from entering the population. So primordial prevention is achieved through individual and mass education. For example, preventing teenagers from getting into tobacco habit. So if you are training a non-addict, non-smoker to say no to peer pressure, so what you are doing is primordial prevention, because he doesn't have the risk factor right now, but we are trying to make him fit so that he doesn't get that risk factor at all. So creating awareness among non-smokers about its ill effects. So if you are creating the awareness in smokers, then we call it as primary level. But here they are not even smokers, but still you are creating awareness regarding the risk factors. So we call it as primordial level. So we can take a dental example, like if you corrected a malocclusion to prevent plaque formation and accumulation, so you prevented caries and periodontal disease. So you removed the risk factor, which is malocclusion. So for caries and periodontal disease, in this sense, you have carried out primordial prevention because you have removed the risk factor before the disease is developed and before even the risk factor has started showing its effects. Primary prevention. What is primary prevention? This is actions taken prior to the onset of the disease, which removes the possibility that the disease will occur. So risk factor is already present in this person. The person may be in the pre-pathogenesis stage. So you need to recognize that this person has a risk factor and counsel him to get out of that. There are two broad approaches to primary prevention as per the World Health Organization. One is called as a population strategy or mass strategy. Other is called as the high risk strategy. What is population strategy? If you want to prevent a disease, if you start targeting everybody in the entire population, then it is called as population strategy. So it is not directed towards any subgroup of people. It is directed at everybody. For example, if you are carrying out a dental health education program to all the school children, you are not sparing any specific subgroups. You are doing it for everybody. Or water fluoridation program, you are doing to entire school or entire community. Or tobacco legislation is done, it is enforced for entire state or entire nation. So when you are taking this population strategy, everybody will be benefited from this. This is population strategy. So this can be done through education mainly, or also through legislation. Next is the high risk strategy. Population strategy may not be possible every time because population may be too big to cover, or the risk for the disease may be in only specific individuals. So whenever there is a specific group of people in whom the risk is there, then we follow what we call as high risk strategy. In this case, we give the preventive care only to individuals who are at higher risk. For example, we do a topical fluoride application to children with only high levels of caries in the deciduous teeth. Or we do tobacco counseling only for people who have the maybe only to high risk groups, for example a small scale industry worker, because we know these people have a lot of habits. So once you identify a small subgroup and then start doing your preventive strategy, we call it as high risk strategy. So this is the basic difference between population strategy and high risk strategy. The one on top is high risk strategy. So if you see a normal curve and if you apply a high risk strategy, you are going to basically do all your measures at the one end of normal curve. Only those people who have the highest risk for disease, only those people are targeted, a small group of people. But in a population strategy, what you would do is you target everybody. So the entire curve shifts to the left, or less risky status in the entire population. Whereas in high risk strategy, only the high risk people are taken care of. If you take dental caries as example, in a high risk strategy, you would only identify children who have more carious lesions and do a program for them. Or in a cardiovascular disease case, in a high risk strategy, you would identify only those people who are obese because it is a high risk for cardiovascular disease, and you target them and you counsel them. Or for AIDS, you would want to counsel only those people who are at risk of developing the sexually transmitted diseases. So you identify that group and you target only that group in the high risk strategy. In a population strategy, you would do for everybody. For example, caries, you would just do a mass campaign related to good diet. That will not be specific to any group. That is high risk, that is population strategy. Or to reduce cardiovascular disease in the community, you would promote healthy activity for everybody, exercise. So that is for everybody. So that is population strategy. Or for AIDS control, you would do a mass campaign in every part of the society. Like let us say advertisement in the television. So that is reaching out everybody. So that is called as population strategy. So these are the two basic strategies to control the disease in a community. We choose one over the other depending on the circumstance, and sometimes we choose both to reduce the disease in the community. So some terms related to control of the disease in the community we need to know. The first one is disease control. When we say disease control, disease, we try to see to it that the disease is reduced to a considerable limit and it ceases to be a public health problem. Example, for malaria now, in our country we are doing disease control. We have no capacity to eliminate it still now. But we are seeing to it that at least it is not a public health problem. It is not affecting large number of people. The second term that we need to know is disease elimination. What is this disease elimination in a community? When there is a complete interruption of the transmission of disease in a region, we say disease has been eliminated. That doesn't mean people may not get the disease. People may still get the disease from a outside region. Somebody may travel to this region and then people may develop the disease. But they will be imported cases. So we say elimination when we have completely interrupted the transmission of disease in at least one region. Then the last one, disease eradication. Eradication is a term which we reserve to diseases whose agents we have entirely removed from the whole world, not just one region or second region. For example, smallpox. Right now we don't have any smallpox virus in the entire globe because we have completely broken its chain of transmission, and there is no human host right now who is having smallpox, and there is no other way in which the virus can get transmitted. So there is no reservoir in the entire environment. Then we call it as disease eradication. So these three terms we need to know when we talk about disease control in the community. So we will continue with the part 2 in the next video.